I worked in the touring industry for about 10 years and 2.5 months. Yeah, because the shutdowns happened in March of 2020. So I had already put in about 10 years before that. So yeah, 10 years and 2.5 months working in the touring industry. And that means I've interacted with millions upon millions of people. All right, think about that. 10 years and 2.5 months. That's a lot of people that I've spoken to from all over the world, from all over the United States, because I'm not the type of person that just gives tours. I actually have conversations with the people that I give the tour to. And in some cases, I've kept in touch with some of these people. Um, yeah, they're in my social media. Okay. People from Australia, Belgium. Some of them have come back, Canada, Holland, Turkey, China, Japan, everywhere, everywhere. And it's interesting because you see the world through their eyes. You see Los Angeles through their eyes. Okay. Because remember, I'm giving tours of LA, where I'm from. And these would be walking tours, sometimes bus tours. That came a little bit later in my tour guiding adventures, but mostly the walking tours of Hollywood, Beverly Hills, and downtown Los Angeles. And you're able to present information to these people and give them a high quality experience. I prided myself on this because there is a reputation about Los Angeles being very superficial. Okay. Hollywood is here, very superficial. This city has given off mixed vibes. And I will say a lot of it is due to the transplants. Doesn't really connect to the people who were born and raised here. The people who were born and raised in LA have a completely different vibe than the people who come here for opportunities. Los Angeles is a vacation city. California is a vacation state. Okay. If you wanted to have a staycation, California is the perfect place to do it. And most people don't even realize that live here. Okay. But in terms of interacting with people who are not from here, it's pretty interesting. And my tours would feature anywhere from one person to 64 people. 64 people for one tour is the most that I've ever done. Okay. 64 people. That was too many. Actually, we had a limit to the amount, but certain circumstances, it was an unavoidable situation. And I ended up giving a tour to 64 people on Hollywood Boulevard, by the way. It's very crowded. You got to navigate, you got to monitor all of that. It's funny when I think back, I don't even realize how much work it took to actually do those tours or run those tours. But I loved it. I loved it. It was a very educational experience, I will say. And it also taught me to appreciate my home. Not to say that I didn't before, but it really broadened my appreciation for Los Angeles because there's still a lot of things here that I haven't done yet. And the average person that grew up here in Los Angeles, they haven't done everything too. There's people that don't really go to the beach and they live here. Okay. They go to the beach maybe once a year, if that. Okay. You live 15 minutes away from the beach and you barely go there, which I don't really understand. You live in a vacation city, the place where people come to go on vacation. For you LA people, that's where you live. So why wouldn't you participate in all of these wonderful things that are available to you just 15 to 20 minutes to 45 minutes, depending on traffic, of course, but it's still available. You don't have to go outside. But if there's one thing that I have learned in terms of the travel experience is that there are two ways to travel. And I'll get into that in a second. Extensive conversations I have with people that are not from here. I love people from all over the world, in terms of having open discussions and open conversations. I'm a very inquisitive person. I like to understand how people who are not from here view LA. In fact, I used to ask that question on my tours. Near the end of my tour, depending on how many people are on the tour, I would ask them, so what's your view? What's your view of Hollywood? What's your view of Beverly Hills? What's your view of LA? How has it been for you? Because my concern was giving people a high quality experience of the city that I've grown up in. So maybe your view on LA hasn't been that great. Maybe your experience hasn't been that great. And you're with me for an hour and 15 minutes. and it's the best experience ever. I prided myself on this, okay, for the entire time that I was working in this industry, and got a lot of different reactions. You know what I mean? A lot of different reactions for people who are not from here. But there was a difference in terms of people who are not from the United States versus people who are from the United States. You have the domestic travelers, and then you have the foreign travelers. Totally different experience, totally different conversations. Okay. And mind you, these conversations, some of them would be quite extensive. All right. We're not talking 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 25 minutes, 45 minutes. Sometimes I would hang out with people from Australia. We would go and engage in activities after I got off work. A lot of stuff, man. And it really opened my mind to not only these places, but just how they see the US, right? Because when you grow up here, especially in Los Angeles, you have your view. But in terms of how others view this place, it's a different ball game. In terms of how they were educated, it's a different ball game. The German education system versus the American education system, the Korean education system versus the American education system. You get all of that. How they're educated in China, their culture, and how they react and interact, how they perceive things. You get all of that giving tours. It was like a master education on world issues for me. So, two types of travelers. So you have, well, let me ask you, let me ask you the question. What type of traveler are you? Are you the type of traveler that just wants to check it off your bucket list? So you do all the popular stuff, the Wall of China, the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, whatever it is. You just want to check it off your bucket list. You don't really care about anything else. You just knock it off. You just want to see these places so that you can say that you saw them. Okay, there's that. Or are you the type of traveler that wants to immerse yourself in the culture? You really want to understand the people, their language. You want to immerse yourself in that. You don't really care about the popular things. You want to do the stuff that's not popular. And you just want to understand. Go. As if I'm having a conversation with you, but it's all good. Something to think about. And there's no right or wrong way to travel because travel is travel, right? You do it, you see things, you explore. It's very healthy. What type of traveler would I be? Well, domestically, I know because I haven't been out of the country. Domestically, it's to immerse myself. I want to know, I want to understand, you know. Foreign would be the same thing. If I go to Germany, I really want to immerse myself in the things in Germany. If I go to Australia, New Zealand, Turkey, wherever, I want to immerse myself. I want to have those conversations with people that are there. Belgium, right? Spain, wherever. I want to learn and understand because I want to know more than I knew before I got there. Because I guess you could say if you're a person that travels just to travel, you don't really remember the place that you went to. You remember the place, but there's nothing that you took away from it other than that you did it. So if you do the wall in China, do you know how long it is? Do you know what it's made out of? Do you know who built it? You know, those kinds of details. You go to Australia. Do you understand why the koala is so important? You know, that's just something I'm throwing out there. These are some things that you just pick up on when you immerse yourself. Or how about the language? You go to Mexico, for example. You go to Guadalajara. You know, you spend some time there and, I don't know, learn some stuff. Maybe you decide to go to the town of Yanga and learn about what took place and why the town was named after Gaspar Yanga. I talked about that in a different episode of T.O.T. But these are the things that you would bring back home because then you would understand why that exists. Or, for example, what people would get when they come on the tour here in Los Angeles. We would talk about the Hollywood sign, for example, how that all started up, why the Egyptian theater was built or who did it. You understand why Los Angeles started in downtown LA. A lot of people who grew up here in LA don't even understand that or don't know that. You know what I mean? They don't know that that's where LA started. That's where it began in 1781. So again, when you immerse yourself in these things, you get that information and it sticks with you. And then you go back home and you're more filled up, you're more fulfilled. So you don't just have the pictures from the trip, you have the information in here. The next time you meet someone from that place, you're able to have a conversation with them about that place. And it's like, wow, yeah, I was there and they talked about this, this, that, and the third. And then that person that you engage with will give you even more information on top of the information that you got when you went to that place. So now you have even more. So now this becomes a book, you know? Like I said, there's no right or wrong way to travel, but if I had to choose which way, it would be the way of information acquisition versus I did it, it's over. And then you go back home and you don't remember anything. It's like, yeah, I did it. But then the upside to checking things off your list would be you have so many things that you've done. See, that would be the upside to that. There's so many things that you've done. And there's an appreciation for that. Think about it. For those of you that have done these things, you've got so many things that you've done. You've really done it. You were in position to do these things. There's some people that are not in position to do the things that you've done. So to actually be in position to do it, oh, that's a victory. So you have to celebrate that as well. But travel is definitely healthy. And I am one who believes in this, even though it hasn't been done in excess. But I will say there's a lot more to do, and that's coming. But yeah, what are the countries you've been to, and what did you do when you went there? Did you learn the language? Did you want to learn the language? Will you do that the next time you go? Because it's a real, well, actually, the world is small compared to the rest of the universe, but it's a big place to us. Our perception says the world is large, and there's a lot to see in the world. Of course, travel is different right now in our current situation. Things are a little lopsided because of you know what, but there's still a lot. And I'm very grateful for that tour guiding job. It really taught me a lot. I mean, man, I tell you, when I think back, there's millions of people that I've interacted with in those 10 years. Millions. And I appreciate them. I appreciate their information. I appreciate the knowledge that they were willing to share with me. And I'm glad that I was able, if there's anybody that watches this video that was on my tour of Los Angeles or Beverly Hills or whatever, thank you. And it was my pleasure. If you happen to come across this episode, it was my pleasure to give you a high quality experience of Los Angeles. And yeah, it was enjoyable for me too.